Good evening. We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. Toronto's Pride Parade was interrupted by pro-Palestinian activists from the Coalition Against Pinkwashing.
A CBS poll shows 72% have concerns over Biden's cognitive health after a CNN debate. Voters, including Democrats, doubt Biden's candidacy.
Martina Navratilova, former Wimbledon champion, faces backlash for her views on trans participation in women's sports.
HOTspots magazine's new issue on July 4th features pet-friendly travel tips, Florida's hidden gems, must-visit guest houses for LGBTQ plus travelers, and a lot more. We give you a sneak peek.
The World GALA Choruses Festival in Minneapolis features over 200 LGBTQ plus choruses from across the planet, including a special feature from the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida and Dallas Turtle Creek's Chorale's collaborative performances celebrating unity and pride.
Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, that we have had more than, 9 million views. It's Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ news, you will see it and hear it.
HOTspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our queer culture: the Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students and youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus nonprofit media companies in America, HOTspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome Yvonne Rohrbacher. Yvonne is a 35-year activist in South Florida and was the publisher of our first gay yellow pages in the 1990s, which I remember. She started with a broadcast on the 2000 show on Party 93.1 radio with Mark Gilbert, Issues Over the Rainbow. Currently, her involvement includes the Women's Fund and Stonewall Museum and Library, the Lesbian Thespians fundraising and performances, and now Queer News Tonight. Yvonne's Sunshine Cathedral of Fort Lauderdale is hosting The Boxes We Keep by Anne Valentino on August 18th. Tell me what's happening with that.
Oh, the Lesbian Thespians have another new play, and this one was the winner of a playwright contest that was sponsored for a $10,000 prize last year. The lesbian in the play is maybe a little controversial or maybe a little fun. You'll have to find out for yourself, but what I do know is our actors and our productions just keep getting better and better. So we're actually at ArtServe, our usual venue for these things in the past, on July 13th and 20th, and then we're at the Sunshine Cathedral for a matinee on August 18th.
That sounds exciting. Are you actually in it?
I'm not in this one, no.
Have you been in any of them?
I have been in some productions, and I'm always in the musical productions as well.
Okay, so you've got your hand right in that pot.
Yeah. And the wife's the board chair, so I have to say.
Yeah. You didn't have to
Stay
say
in
that
line.
part. You just had to mention her.
I got it.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
congratulations to her too.
Thank you.
Okay, let's welcome anchor Chef Josie. Josie's a Bravo TV top chef and the master of the popular champagne and oyster celebration restaurant, Bubbles and Pearls on Wilton Drive. Delicious. You may know her as DJ Lady Snack Daddy too. Welcome, Chef Josie. What is going on with you? You have this new thing you told me about not long ago called Chemistry Kitchen.
Yeah.
And I'm dying to find out, like, if it got launched and what's happening.
Yeah, so, I told you it was this little project I've been working on.
Sounds like more than a little project.
Yeah, so Chemistry Kitchen is situated within Chemistry, the club. It's an EDM music venue, bringing world-class music and lights and sound, and it's just amazing. They had this beautiful big kitchen that needed a chef. And since they're my friends, here I am. What we're doing out of there is I've launched Chemistry Kitchen, which is like festival food menu. So think when you're at the big music festivals, the Coachellas, the South by Southwest, all those fun kind of events. And you have good chef food now, coming out of these tents. It's not just a corn dog anymore. Even though
You know what? We're all a fan of the corn dog.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Alex and I probably more than the two of you.
Well, okay, you probably got us.
Oh, please.
But now I'm really excited to announce that we will be available. You don't have to just come to the club anymore, because maybe it's not your time for bed, or maybe you get to bed too early. I get it. But you can now get our food on Uber Eats, so you'll be able to do that. And I'm really excited because now our venue is prepared to take on your special events. We're looking to host your next corporate event, your next bar mitzvah, your next, I don't care, art exhibit.
I had one bar mitzvah, that was enough.
We're gonna do all kinds of things. So if you have some product launches, you have some cool things that you want to do at Chemistry, you can just hit us up. And we'd love to sit down and talk to you. And
is there a website or something if people want to reach out?
Yes. So it's chemistrynightclub.com.
Okay. And then through there, they can find you.
Yeah.
An hour.
Well, at Chef Josie, that's
okay.
easy.
Well, you can do that.
Yeah.
Go to at Chef Josie. Okay. Let's welcome Alex Morash. Alex has written for The Advocate and served as editor-in-chief of Options magazine. He has also served as media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Welcome, Alex. I know last week you told us about your husband going to Washington, D.C. and invited to the Pride event at the White House.
Yes, well, it's boyfriend, Gil Pont.
Sorry. Didn't mean to ring on the finger.
He was, and then, actually the day after we were on, I was on, and we actually were able to show pictures of him at the White House, and then he got to tell me when he came home that the First Lady, Jill Biden, spoke, and he got a little, White House Pride fan. It was a very fun time that everyone had out on the lawn.
And they didn't just roll Biden.
No, actually, he spoke at the Pride event the year before, but he did not this year, which was the day before the debate. So I will allow the media to speculate, as I will on everything this week.
Okay.
Maybe somebody used the
All right. You're right.
And of course, and of course, we're going to welcome Glen Weinzimer, who is the owner of Bona.
It's okay.
Bona Italian in Wilton Manors Drive, which is right on the drive in Wilton Manors. And you have a Whiny Wednesday event coming around, don't you?
We do. We do Whiny Wednesday every Wednesday, obviously. And with every entree that you get a complimentary glass of our house wine. It's either Chianti or Pinot Grigio.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Perfect. And we have a new thing called the wine topper. You put on top of it for $5 more. It's like a mini charcuterie board. I'm telling you, people were trying to get it out of me of where we bought them. I slipped and told two people, but I thought they should work as hard as I did to try to find it.
Yeah.
So, but that's okay. Florida is Fort Lauderdale is Fort Bottomsdale, so
Oh.
You know, having the best top in town works to our favor.
Hey.
All right. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the Queer News for Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. First this evening, let's queer up the worldview. One of the world's largest pride parades canceled when pro-Palestinian protesters blocked streets. Toronto's Pride Parade abruptly ended on Sunday when pro-Palestinian activists interrupted the event. About 30 activists from the Coalition Against Pinkwashing blocked the parade 3.5 hours after it started, chanting "Free Palestine" and "Pride is a protest." This blockage caused floats and participants to halt, and after 45 minutes, Pride Toronto announced the cancellation of the remainder of the parade. The protesters had a list of demands, including divestment from companies involved in exploiting native people of Turtle Island, Sudan, Palestine, and the Congo. While Pride Toronto offered to meet with the protesters, they did not sign the list of demands on the spot. The parade is Canada's largest Pride celebration and one of the largest in the world. This incident follows a similar protest at New York City's 45th Annual Pride Parade, where protesters climbed over barricades, tossed fake blood, and held up floats and marchers for 45 minutes before being removed by the NYPD. Protesters in New York held signs reading, quote, "No queer liberation without Palestinian liberation, and Palestine will be free." This is crazy, to state the least, on a couple levels. One, 3.5 hours and they weren't done with the parade? I mean, how many hours was that parade going to go? That is, for me alone, I would have checked out. So they kind of waited for the end of the event. So, but you know, this is crazy. It's happening all over the country, and it's frightening. You know, we saw this year Ukraine put on a pride festival or parade. It may have lasted only 30 minutes, but in the middle of their war, they're out there doing it. And we're seeing, you know, in Paris, there's a huge pride festival and stuff. So there's a lot more visibility from the LGBTQ community around the world, but I don't know how effective, you know, well, I do know how they're being very effective, but it puts us in the spotlight to be pointed at as an issue.
Well, for me, it's a real issue because, you know, I get as a lifetime activist, I get it. You know, you want to take to the streets, you want to use your voice and you want to list your demands. I get the whole process, but how are you going to interrupt your own community's protest to be prideful, visible, and raise the awareness around our fight right now? And I'm not taking anything away from, you know, the idea that, you know, we should not be killing 30s, 40, 50,000 people to get a point across. And I have my friends who are my Jewish friends, and I've been always pro-Jew, you know, not necessarily pro-Israel, not necessarily pro-Palestine, not either one of the governments, because we already know that government, when they're not speaking on behalf of all the people, and the Palestinians are being cannon fodder for a war that's been going on for so long. But I know my friends, one of my friends, Chloe Joe Davis, she runs End Jew Hatred, because the reality of it is Jews are not saying die Palestinians, okay? Not the ones here, at least in the United States. You know, we're saying bring home the hostages and stop the attack on the Palestinian people. But the pro-Palestinian groups are screaming and chanting death to all Jews. Like, we have to, like, recognize, you know, there's one thing to be pro-Palestine, but it's another thing to disguise your hatred and your constant attack on the Jewish community with those pro-Palestinian chants.
But no one has said that these particular protesters called on any genocide to anyone, is my understanding. Yeah. One thing I will say, especially about Toronto Pride, is they have a history of activists interrupting and actually putting out lists of demands for the executive director to sign, which I always found was a little interesting and different than in other prides. Like, I used to be involved in DC in No Justice, No Pride. The first piece I ever did in The Advocate was specifically about criticizing pride events for becoming very capitalistic and very commercial. And, you know, something when you look at pride events now, we say we want to invite everyone, and in some ways that's wonderful, but it's also when you invite, you know, a gun, like a weapons manufacturer or whatever, you are bringing in all those other politics into the community. And, you know, I wrote a piece a few months ago called, what the title was, From Don't Say Gay to Don't Say Palestine. There is so much censorship of activists that just say, hey, we're not sure if we want our government to be paying for and delivering weapons that are being used in a really horrific way. You know, Benjamin Netanyahu's government is under a lot of pressure right now because of his actions. And as Thomas Friedman put in the New York Times 2 weeks ago, you know, he's trying to stay in power to avoid going to jail. Like, that's, Israel's going through a lot of things right now, and I'm not surprised to see this sort of activism.
Yeah. And it mirrors what we're going through in some ways with
I know.
Absolutely.
But I also think that, and Yvonne, I want to get your take on this, that you've got two minority groups that should be allies helping each other survive, and instead you're going for one minority group that's already being picked on and finding another reason for people to hate them because you're bringing in this in New York, throwing fake blood and stuff. I mean, that doesn't build bridges. You know, that's not the way you build a community.
They're feeling desperate. They're not looking to build community.
Yeah.
And it is surprising that, although I have the same concerns you do about how complicated things get when we talk about including everyone who wants to be an ally, including corporations, what road is that taking us down? And you can't really put your finger on, well, then what belongs in these venues and what doesn't. Although I have to agree that attacking the folks that are looking at including everyone in every way possible, and obviously Toronto Pride does that, which has got to be the cleanest and best organized pride parade I've ever been to in my life, by the way. For these kind of things to happen, as much as you say, I didn't realize.
Well, I was surprised they shut it down because in DC, the No Justice, No Pride group, I remember got to watch from the sideline. They literally shut down the parade. Wow. And the police, they just rerouted most of the floats. Wells Fargo got stuck. I didn't pity Wells Fargo at all. But, you know,
that part does get complicated because what do all those corporations represent? And then you look at our rainbow.
Right.
We have such a huge difference in, you know, the walks of life from this extreme to that extreme that belong, and they do belong to our LGBTQ plus community.
And they can't do this freely in their own country.
Yeah.
That's the irony of it. They came to something they can't celebrate at home.
Yeah.
So my question is, why didn't they reroute the parade like DC
Because it was 3.5
did?
hours and everyone's exhausted.
Do you know what's really crazy with New York City Pride?
Done.
Do you want to know how long, in 2019, I attended a press conference where they explained New York City Pride. Do you know how many hours the 2019 New York City Pride was projected to be? 12.
Hours?
What?
12. I don't know how they, I'm like, I think DC was 4 hours, and like after an hour, I'm like, I love you all. But
Yeah.
It is here. Maybe it doesn't rain in the afternoon, but.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. No.
The Ukrainians had it right at 30 minutes.
Exactly. Yvonne, you want to take us to the next story?
Sure. Let's queer up politics. Not that we're already not talking about politics. But this is domestic politics. The new polls show that half of Democrats believe Biden should drop out. What does that mean? Oh, my goodness. In a recent CBS News poll, 55% of registered voters expressed doubts about 81-year-old President Joe Biden's mental and cognitive health. This concern surged to 72%. I'm surprised it didn't jump an even more percentage than that, honestly, following CNN's debate, where Biden appeared to struggle with coherence, losing his train of thought, and providing incoherent responses. Didn't seem like it was about his stuttering this time. Only 18% of voters felt Biden inspired confidence during the debate, compared to 44% who thought former President Donald Trump did. No, I can't believe I almost forgot that word. That's an important word. Notably, nearly half of the voters now believe Biden should not be running for office, a 10% increase since February, with 45% of registered Democrats thinking he should just step aside. Trump, though, faring better in the debate, also faced skepticism about his mental fitness. Only 50% of voters polled considered the 78-year-old former president fit to serve. Despite recognizing that much of Trump's debate content consisted of falsehoods, voters rated his performance higher than Biden's, citing better clarity and better confidence. The debate aftermath saw calls for Biden to step down from funders and liberal media outlets, including editorial boards of the New York Times and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Oh, we got ourselves in a mess. And didn't someone say at the table earlier that there was someone that spoke out about this just today?
Yeah, it was Congressman Doggett. I think it's how you pronounce his name. He called for him to step aside.
Well, obviously, we've heard the opposite from several important voices. Lots of people have decided to stay silent that certainly we probably would like to hear from and hear their opinions. And what's important is how many Democrats now have lost faith.
Yeah, what's really at stake is do you want a democracy or not? Like, you may not think...
It is at stake, you're right.
Biden, you may not think Biden is the sharpest knife in the drawer, the brightest bulb in the refrigerator. I can keep going on with these horrible analogies, but...
Sharpest tool in the shed?
Thank you, because I forgot that one. But he has surrounded himself with people that do these jobs. He has his Secretary of Defense, his Secretary of the Interior. You know, he's got his transportation. Yeah. He's got all these people that do the job. Allegedly, because obviously I've never been in the room, he is well-spoken and in it when they're in a meeting. You know, can't tell if that's just media hype. You know, and the media has not let this go since last Thursday. They're making it worse.
They're making it a lot worse.
Because he did a great presentation the following day. Go ahead, Alex.
As a former Democratic Party staffer, I've never seen a president do such a self-inflicted wound. This debate was his choice. He set the parameters for this debate. Donald Trump didn't ask for anything. I was like, that's insane. And Biden got everything he wanted. All he had to do to meet expectations was not look like he looked like he had a stroke at one point. It was terrifying to watch.
It was like watching McConnell freeze.
But the other scary thing is, yes, there are many competent people around him, but legally the president has to be able to make certain decisions. If a national disaster happens, only the president can make certain calls. Axios reported from White House staffers that he's good from 10 to 4. Now, I want to first say that I want a 10 to 4 workday. I think the American people deserve a 10 to 4 workday. But if China were to attack Taiwan at 2 in the morning, we need a president that can deal with that. If Russia decides to invade Poland in the middle, but outside of 10 to 4, what are we going to do? The good news is there's lots of polling that shows that people that are concerned with him do find Kamala Harris to be completely acceptable as a nominee. So if Biden, and it's because that's the only person that could replace him technically.
Right. If they find
and she's polling perfectly fine.
Yeah, if they find he's not competent, then they can, like they talked about with Trump at one point, is I don't remember which group it is. You probably know
the 25th Amendment. It would be the cabinet.
The cabinet can decide that he's not fit for office, and then Kamala Harris would then step in that role. And what's interesting is they're asking the question, and I remember answering one of these polls, do you think he's competent to continue? Not really. It was like, no was my answer, but would I still vote for him? Yes, because I believe in democracy. And I believe that if we give it to the other side, we won't have a conversation like this, because he didn't step down when he was incompetent.
He won't care what people think.
And he doesn't care what people think.
And listen, this is the reality too of this conversation, okay? The fact that Biden, an 81-year-old man, and I'll be honest, like I made a post on my social media the following day, you know, because I was speechless after the debate, but
was he during most of it?
But I said I'd rather vote, in all honesty, I'd rather vote for grandpa than a sociopath. And, you know, that's really what it comes down to. But that's also wrong. You know what I mean? This duopoly that we're dealing with here in this country, and we're minimizing the voice of potential powerful leaders to also step up and take the stage and get involved in these debates. You know, there's like a woman, I think you might know her, Marianne Williamson, okay? She's been a spiritual teacher for 50 years. She has a lot of, I mean, her first run was kind of shaky because she was a little too woo-woo for everyone. And you have to subscribe if you want to be woo-woo, you know? But I think that she came back. She learned a lot from her first run, and she's coming back with very good ideas. It's like she's not so extreme left, not so extreme right, and she's trying to come from a place, and honestly, of love and healing. And it sounds woo-woo to even think that this world, as far gone as we are, can find some common decency, some human decency again. I honestly think that in order to find that, we need to find a leader that can speak, right, who also comes comes from the heart and is smart, and someone who really cares about bringing us back together.
But you would go ahead. Good, no. Alex.
Well, this is why, like, if he chooses to bow out and make Kamala the nominee, it would be actually very helpful for the nation. Because one, he is polling behind Donald Trump at the moment. So he's not currently winning. That is very horrifying to think about. But the thing is, because the Democrats have dismissed the media in a way that one Democratic donor said found rather Trumpian to dismiss the media now needs to prove it's legitimate. So they're going to look at everything he does to prove again and again every time because the Democrats are provoking the media at that point.
Well, some of the media is doing a daily poll about a different politician and whether or not he could beat Trump or she could beat Trump. Somebody different every day.
Well, and listen, we really shouldn't even have this conversation because he's a felon, okay? And if a felon can't come and get a job, all right, if you can't go and find yourself housing.
The felons can't even vote in Florida.
You can't even vote in Florida. But I guess in this world that we're living in now, you're immune and you can hold the highest office in the land. So I'm confused. I'm really confused.
And we're going to move on, but the bottom line is that if we don't elect the Democratic Party, forget who the leader is, we won't have an opportunity in 4 years to stabilize everything. We won't be able to find a good one. Because if Trump steps in, he's not stepping out. And the things he's already planning to do, Project 2025, the women's rights, he's going to potentially get 2 to 3 more judges on the Supreme Court, and that whole not letting Obama select somebody is why we're in this mess.
Yeah.
But yet Trump was able to at the last minute appoint somebody. And it was like the hypocrisy in the whole thing. So anyway, that's exhausting.
Sometimes I feel like our political system and many others around the world, but not all of them, are, I remember the phrase we've used about banks in this country, is it too big to fail? Is it too old to fail? And it's frustrating to think that maybe sometimes things are too big to fail. I thought for sure Donald Trump's presidency was going to rip our political system apart. We were going to get a little bit of breath of fresh air under people's seats a little. Didn't happen. Not at all.
Made it worse. Next, let's queer up trans rights. Lesbian tennis star Martina Navratilova says LGBTQ plus community jettisoned her over trans issue. Former Wimbledon champion Martina Navratilova has revealed she feels jettisoned by the LGBTQ plus community due to her anti-trans views. Navratilova, a lesbian and vocal opponent of trans inclusion in sports, argues that transgender rights are being prioritized over women's rights, particularly when it comes to males identifying as females. At a press conference ahead of this year's Wimbledon Championships, Navratilova said, quote, "I've been jettisoned by a lot of the groups in the LGBTQ community, but I've been speaking my mind for a long time, and I'm not going to change that," end quote. Navratilova has previously criticized Harry Potter star Daniel Radcliffe for his support of the trans community, telling him to, quote, "be quiet," end quote, and described a drag queen as a pathetic parody of women. After they spoke out against LGBTQ plus hate, she stands firm in her belief that women's sex-based spaces, and especially sports, needs to stay female. Despite the backlash, Navratilova is resolute. She says, quote, "I know I'm on the right side of history," end quote. Navratilova's views have drawn criticism from U.S. lesbian football star Megan Rapinoe, who finds it frustrating when women's sports is weaponized, and supports inclusion in sports despite the opposition. Navratilova remains committed to her stance, emphasizing, quote, "women are asked to be kind and inclusive, yet by including transgender identified males in women's sports, you're including women," end quote. This story is extremely complicated. I have a love-hate for Navratilova because I do admire the fact that she gets out and speaks her piece. But I just think, actually, I think, Yvonne, you do a lot with transgender, and I think you'd be the best person to speak to this or to open with this.
And I happen to have a friend that feels just like this, even about children that know they're already transgender and want to play in girls' sports. And it's interesting, Martina, that you're going to complain about being canceled or being hated as a way of getting attention. I thought that was interesting. Maybe she was bored. I don't know. But the thing is, some of the main statements that she's made and some of the main points that she'd made, my friend has also made. So I've read this same article from the American Civil Liberties Union several times to my friend. It's the 4 myths about females. And what is a female? Why is there such a problem with this person if this person is a female? And the big one is the myth that the participation of trans athletes hurts cis women. It's the very first one on the ACLU website that they talk about and battle, and it's the very first one that Martina's talking about and that my friends talk about that have this opinion. Including trans athletes benefits everyone. What a slippery slope. If someone identifies as a female and is physically transitioning toward being female or has already transitioned toward being female, where do you draw that line exactly? That's where it hurts cisgender women. If you have a cisgender woman who does identify a little bit masculine of center in some way, are we going to start testing her for hormones or making her drop her pants? I mean, it's just such a slippery slope to start discriminating against people based on what you think they have in their pants or where you think they were born or how you think they were born. And it hurts all women to start that, unless we're going to do it to the boys too.
Well, I think then exactly this conversation, because you talk about trans in schools now, and I have the same conversation with many of my friends. And, I understand what Navratilova is saying because I am a female athlete who came through class, through all my grades, all the sports. And I understand how there could be that sentiment and how that feeling is. We're opening up and including everyone. But let's say someone is, so I'm trying to figure out what would be the best way to just level the playing field. So I think there has to be standards. In sports, there's standards. Like you're a boxer, there's weight class. There's, in sports, female sports, then you have to have a certain like estrogen level. You have to have certain, your hormones have to be at some other level. There has to be, there's a lot of women who are strengths, but if a man comes in, trans woman who hasn't fully, a trans woman, I want to be inclusive too, but I also don't want to exclude women from women's sports but then you have a woman, let's say F to M, who wants to play a male sport, right?
Right.
And then now you don't hear about those stories so much,
no,
but but you have, an F to M moving into a male sport. Everybody's going to be like, let him go, let him play, let him play.
Do as well, which is not always true.
There's also
and conversely, one of the 4 myths, as you I'm sure are not surprised, is also that when you're a trans woman, you're always going to win against the other women in the sport. And no, they do not always win. No, do they ever win? Sure. But just the idea that they're unfairly just wiping out the rest of the field of the people they're competing against has absolutely been disproven.
Another reason I don't play sports.
The main reason you don't even hear about trans men in sports is this whole discussion isn't about fairness. It's a right-wing media plot. They want to try and divide women and feminists and lesbians from trans people. They do this at all different levels. I've seen the Alliance Defending Freedom gang up on parents with children as young as 6, crying at school committee meetings about how their child was originally able to use the restroom without fear, and now they want to take their own life at 6 or 8 years old. This sort of stuff is never generated in a basis of fairness. This individual, she's espousing trans exclusionary radical feminist ideology. I think TERFs have no place in the LGBTQ community. I see what she's saying, and I'm like, this is not where we are, the society anymore. I understand where feminism was in the 1980s and how it's moved. Julie Bindel is a great example of someone who was much more on the TERF side in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And there was certain intellectual reasons for that.
Sure.
But she's grown and evolved as a person. She's like, we can include trans people in more ways now. We don't always have to view everything in a hard binary. And like, I see someone like this, I'm like, either get with the program or get out of the way.
Journey, as you're saying, or maybe 60-year journey. The early days of feminism compared to now. Women-only spaces didn't feel safe unless they were sure it was truly women-only in the 1970s, such as the Michigan Women's Festivals. When I found out that they still do events there, and some of them are stating exclusively women-born women, I stopped following them.
Mm-hmm.
But did we all evolve? Obviously not. And looking back, you have to think about. Did you guys see the little thing that was going on online about would you rather have your wife or your daughter stuck in the woods with a bear or a man?
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
Right. It's like that, right?
Yeah.
These women are more afraid of what men might do than they are afraid to be out in the woods with the bears.
Yeah. But, I think this is like a multi-level, multi-pronged type of conversation, right? Because, it's also about awareness and education, right?
Sure
around
is.
and being willing to have these open, honest, like let someone say something ignorant and, uninformed, like let them, and instead of us attacking people, let them understand. And there's a saying that says, meet people where they are, acceptance. And if we as an LGBTQ community are looking, I'm not looking for tolerance, okay? I'm looking for acceptance. Mm-hmm. And in order for us to create acceptance, we have to be the source of acceptance.
I agree.
And so it's a deeper conversation, and we have to bring a lot of solutions. I don't think we're going to get over it in, the 10 minutes we're doing it here,
Absolutely
right?
not.
No.
Well, next, let's queer up gay culture.
All right.
Discover hidden gems and pet-friendly travel in new issue of HOTspots magazine on stands July 4th. HOTspots is celebrating 40 years with the new issue on stands Thursday. The magazine is part of a HOTspots Happening Out, the largest nonprofit LGBTQ+ media group in America. The upcoming issue is a special issue on staycation, one of my favorite things, featuring 5 pet-friendly travel trips, hidden gems in Florida, and 8 must-visit guest houses for LGBTQ. The new issue also features an exclusive interview with Victor Husko, an acrobat in the Paradise Act. He's also part of the Cirque du Soleil, which is returning to South Florida on July 11th through the 21st. You will also learn about GALA, swimwear's First Nations wearable art swimwear, which will be out this summer. Another special feature on Nonna Iris and the birth of Osteria da Fortunata. You would love it. While you are reading the new issue of the magazine, you can also entertain yourself with the queer crossword puzzle in Hot Puzzle. Wimberley Athletic Fields is hosting the 30th anniversary Founders Dedication Ceremony on July 20th. It is a celebration of 30 years of LGBTQ+ softball. All right, ladies, I know where you'll be. Tim Martin has written an amazing feature on it. The magazine has also everything you need to know about Jungle Splash by Jungle Island. The water park will be open through the end of August. And of course, you can read popular features like Hot Places by Maria Espinal and Out with Scott, and What's Hot by Scott Holland. Grab your free copy of HOTspots magazine on July 4th, or you might miss all the fun. All right, well, that was a lot. There's a lot to do this summer, and July 4th is going to be a real bang. But one of the things that stands out for me here is the, 8 LGBT places to stay. And I think that here in Wilton Manor is one of my favorites. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Casa Hermes. And it's an upscale kind of guest house, boutique hotel style. And it's just beautiful. I love it. the owners, they're just these great, fun guys. And that's like a place that in Wilton Manors, known for a lot of like male-only type of guest houses, this is a place that if I have visitors coming in from out of town, my mom, my sisters, I would send them there, you know, and it's a really nice place. So it's a place that's welcome for everyone.
Awesome. Is that the place that also has they have a chef, like they do their own cooking and stuff in there?
Yeah, yeah.
It's that super modern building.
Correct, the white.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
I like the Cirque du Soleil. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it in a long time.
Well, happy anniversary, HOTspots. Speaking of things we remember from our youth, right?
Right.
They've been around a long time.
Yes, they have. And let's queer up gay culture. The Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida will be featured at World Gala Chorus Festival as one of the best in the world. The upcoming World Gala Choruses Festival in Minneapolis will feature over 200 international LGBTQ plus choruses. The Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, led by artistic director Gabe Salazar, will be highlighted at the festival from July 11 to 14. Their vocal ensemble, Tropical Wave, led by assistant conductor Anthony Cabrera, will also perform. Over 100 representatives from the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida will participate in 5 days of singing, connecting, and creating wall-to-wall concerts, workshops, social events, joy, and pride. This year's festival is particularly special due to the collaboration between the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida and the Turtle Creek Chorale from Dallas. Invited by the World Festival to create a special performance, it will be one of the festival's great moments. With 300 singers combined, the two powerhouse choruses will perform together, showcasing the strength and unity within the LGBTQ plus choral community. For those unable to attend in person, there's a live stream with information available. Talking exclusively to Queer News Tonight, Mark Kent, the executive director of Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, said, "I know it will be a special and powerful moment when we join forces with the highly acclaimed Turtle Creek Chorale. Turtle Creek represents a long-standing tradition of excellence, having been in existence for 44 years and recording more albums than any other male choral group in the world. Now approaching our 15th season, the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida is a new presence that has quickly established itself as a chorus of quality and purpose. Bringing these two groups together creates a bookend of past and present in a way that speaks to the future. It represents unity in our shared advocacy for love and acceptance, as well as our commitment to performances that meet high standards. It will be a mind-blowing experience."
LGBTQ choirs inspire and connect singers from all around the world, and GALA Choruses is proud to lead the North American LGBTQ choral movement. Join us for a once-in-a-lifetime choral event in Minneapolis, Minnesota, July 10th through 14th, 2024. For GALA Festival. Many of us have waited 8 long years to sing together again at Festival, and we can't wait to see you. Many of us will also discover Festival for the very first time. If this is you, welcome. GALA Choruses Festival is the largest LGBTQ choral event in the world. It's an opportunity to deepen our commitment to social justice and our vision of a world where all voices are free. It's a time to create the music and art that brings us all together. But above all, GALA Choruses Festival is a time to build community within the LGBTQ choral movement. Just imagine 7,000 GALA chorus singers and our friends harmonizing in song and taking over downtown Minneapolis. Learn more at galachoruses.org/festival. Join us.
You know, seeing this story, it's nice to have a story where no one is being arrested or convicted of a crime or like it's just a nice positive story. Like I've personally been to Gay Men's Chorus South Florida events in the past. They're always fun and really well done.
Yes. Over this past weekend, they had an amazing Pride concert, and although they have only been in existence for 15 years, again, speaking of things we remember from when we were young, I was part of the mixed chorus called the Lambda Chorale in the late 80s and early 90s, and they probably went until about 2005, and there was a men's course back then also. It wasn't of South Florida, it was of Fort Lauderdale. So we've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, I love. I was just recently getting an adjustment at my doctor. You probably
Tell me more about this adjustment.
Yeah,
Mental, physical?
No,
Is it like
physical,
a
physical.
Okay.
He's my mobility doctor, and Dr. Darren Bush. You probably know him and his partner Wamel. They have the Tulips, the flower company. But the really cool thing is, as he's giving me this adjustment, he was like singing a few tunes, and he's like, "You have to come in early because I have rehearsal tonight." And I'm wondering, what rehearsal? What are you doing now? He goes, "We're in the gay man's chorus." And I knew that they were preparing, but they had such a cool like song list. I heard them in the other offices, in the other rooms
They're
singing.
all singing.
And it's so cute because there's so many people from our community who are a part of this, and you don't even know it. It's like their secret life until you see them on stage singing, and just it's beautiful. It's really, I love seeing our boys singing their hearts out.
Yeah, and girls.
Oh, are there girls on that?
Well,
There are, and as I
Couple.
mentioned, there used to be a mixed chorus here, and they do actually have a couple of women that have decided they don't mind being called men, and they're in the
Oh, that's
chorus
great.
of South Florida.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's international service at 10:30 a.m.
we finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the USA view. The number of LGBTQ plus elected officials triples since 2017. Yay! Something happy tonight. According to the LGBTQ plus Victory Institute's Out for America, the number of out LGBTQ plus elected officials has surged nearly 200%, nearly 200% since 2017. I would bet it's higher in Florida. As of May 1st, 1,303 LGBTQ plus officials hold office, marking a 10% increase from last year and a significant rise from 448 in 2017. Well, I know my friend Dean wasn't mayor yet, was he? Remarkably, there is now at least one LGBTQ plus elected official in every state, and Washington, D.C. as well, highlighting growing representation in public service. Well, as I mentioned, we all know and are proud of the LGBTQ plus out officials we have here in Florida, both in municipalities, our Mayor Dean here in Fort Lauderdale, and also the legislators that we have in the state of Florida battling for us every day.
And someone like Bill Schultz, who is now the head of the police, as an out LGBT individual.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Don't we have the Senator Jones that's the out Chevron Jones?
Yes.
He's wonderful. I see this and it gives me such joy to know that there's now almost as many elected LGBTQ people as straight people to be just as awful as any other politician.
And let's not forget our local Wilton Manors, okay? We have
sure.
four 4 out of 5 is our LGBT commissioners, LGBTQ
Can't
commissioners.
forget that.
So
You're right.
hometown team, you know what I mean?
And they say, change starts on the local level.
Yeah.
So the more LGBT representation across the country means we start to make change as people vote and get more accepted.
Absolutely.
So it's actually great for all of us.
Marvelous.
Next, LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the worldview. Istanbul holds pride despite ban and arrests. Police in Turkey shut down parts of Istanbul and detained at least 15 individuals for participating in a banned pride parade on Sunday. The message was clear. Quote, "We didn't recognize your absurd bans." End quote. Pride organizers later announced the release of those arrested. The government had banned the Pride festivities, calling them illegal groups. In response, organizers moved the event. Over 100 LGBTQ plus community members attended the Pride. Well, I've been to Istanbul, and we went there. We disembarked from a ship carrying a whole bunch of lesbians, on one of those wonderful Olivia cruises.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to visit this country. And the food, it took me down the scariest of streets. And I got to go to the bazaar. This is a beautiful place, okay? Historically beautiful. But I'm going to tell you, maybe it was watching Taken on the plane ride over.
Oh, my goodness.
That really freaked me out. And I swear I could not relax there. So, I want to go back. But, now it's too hectic for our community, in my opinion. And there's, I could go to Bali.
There are safer places.
Yeah.
I've been there once for work, and no one's out. Everyone's, everyone's closeted there. It's not a free sense of freedom at all. Kudos to these 100 participants that were willing to show their face, because the backlash from the government could be harsh.
That's how it starts everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It has been sad watching Turkey devolve into authoritarianism and how our pride events are now under such threat there. And it is a fear for what we've been talking about on this whole show today, of that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay, LGBTQ 1 minute news. Let's clear up social justice. Mass arrests during Chicago post-Pride parade party. Chicago police declared a mass arrest situation. Early Monday, following the city's annual Pride Parade, arrests took place in the Lakeview neighborhood amid widespread fights and disruptions. Videos on Twitter showed clashes with police who blocked off West Belmont, usually busy with all-night Pride celebrations. The number of arrests remains undisclosed, but reports suggest it was the highest in Pride's history. However, it is not the first time. From 2013 to 2015, Chicago's Pride Parade and its after-party resulted in 46 to 52 arrests annually. Wow. Last year saw 25 arrests, including 21 adults and 4 juveniles. I mean, our whole theme tonight has been these Pride festivals and them being under attack from different groups, which is scary, but I also, I'm glad that we're out there despite these clashes, and it seems that this has been an ongoing issue that is maybe only being highlighted this year because we have so many prides around the country that are being attacked. I know what the community was like here in Fort Lauderdale a couple of weeks ago, the amount of security that was present during our Pride Parade, the number of snipers on the roofs, what do they call it? Not undressed, but those in plain clothes, police and stuff that were in the community. Not no clothes, because I would have been paying more attention.
Yes, but again, it's an indication of progress that there are so many Pride festivals that we're talking about, and it's a small number compared to how many Pride festivals we have today. Only, and I don't know if anybody else was at the Stonewall reenactment the other day at ArtServe, but only since 1969, 1970 was the first Pride March, if you will, and it was 30 people walking single file to look like more people.
Start somewhere.
So,
I've met Mayor Brendan Johnson in Chicago because my day job, we do a lot of work in Chicago. So on the one hand, I was very sort of shocked to read this because he's not been one to be very aggressive in policing in any way. But at the same time, everyone I know in Chicago is the sort of party type. So I'm like, you wild kids, what did you do this time? Sort of thing.
Yeah, Chicago can be a little wild.
All right, so let's go next to LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up sports. Football Club Barcelona flies intersex progressive flag on social media accounts, including its Arabic account. FC Barcelona used its vast social media platform to celebrate LGBTQ plus Pride Month. The club raised the intersex inclusive Pride Progress flag at Palau Blaugrana Stadium and shared the gesture across all its accounts, including its Arabic account on Twitter with 5.7 million followers. Football Club Barcelona made no comment on its share of the image banned in much of the Muslim Middle East. In total, the professional sports team has the largest number of followers of any sports team on the planet, with more than 20 million followers. Happy Pride.
Wow.
All right, well, I'll tell you this, soccer is growing in popularity here in South Florida because we have Messi, okay? And, I think everyone's caught his fire. But I have a lot of friends from South America and Europe, so I've been a part of this whole football thing, and you have to clarify American football or football because that's
Real
how they
football.
call it, But, listen, that's ballsy. That's ballsy. And I have to hats off to FC Barcelona. Thank you very much for being one of our allies. You don't have to do that. And thank you for doing it, because now you're sending a very clear message because the football scene is huge in other places besides the United States. And 20 million followers, 5.7 followers, that's a lot. And any way that we can get the support from these type of organizations, I'm for it.
And I love Ted Lasso because that introduced me to and to love with football.
Yeah.
Yes, life is football.
That was a great show.
Seeing this, it was nice because often one of the internet memes about non-queer groups doing pride logos is they'll only do it in North America and Europe. And to see a group do it, we're going to also do it with our Arab account and be more open. That was nice to see because so many groups, they want to say that we're with you. And I'm like,
yes,
you're only with us when it's a good time.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need a fair weather friend,
we're
honey.
Spanish and we're football players. We're not afraid of you.
Right. Yeah.
And LGBTQ 1 minute news, let's queer up gay culture. Vintage men's fitness ads show gay men existed long before it was cool to be out. In ancient Greece, men exercised nude in physical centers. The 19th century was influenced by German and Swedish gymnastics. The early 20th century introduced organized fitness inspired by military training. Post-World War II, bodybuilding became popular, and in the 1980s, it was about aerobics and home workout videos. Today, we are all about online workout and fitness wearables. All of these intersections are self-evident in these vintage fitness ads, which, by the way, prove that gay men existed long before it was cool to be gay. Well, clearly some producer knew that, I love talking about men exercising without their clothes, and before anyone asked, well, would trans men be included? I'd be like, yes, gentlemen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
They have naked yoga at Peak Fitness.
They do?
Yeah.
Cool.
So one of my boys told me that he was in the front row, and I just kept, I couldn't shake the view out of my mind.
I wouldn't have been able.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're behind him while he's exercising.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Is it Jeffrey Roach that teaches one of them?
I'm not sure who's
I think
teaching
it's
it.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've asked me several times. I'm like, no. I can do a comedy act without actually being naked. That's fine.
And that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community and on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family and join this conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only space in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of HOTspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Glen Weinzimer, and I am thrilled on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters to have them on the same stage. The anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Yvonne Rohrbacher, Chef Josie, Alex Morash. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you good night.
Good night.